There are many myths about dragons that all contain elements of truth or wisdom. Nevertheless, it is generally agreed that they are shy and extremely hard to find. Many of our ancient ancestors devoted entire lives never to find one. But please don't fret, as it is the discovery tour that makes an interesting and fulfilled life. Any prize is a happy bonus. Indeed, there always is more joy associated with the quest than completing it. What are dragons? Dragon is a version of an older word, Draken. In earlier articles I have mentioned the Draco. There is a Draco or the Draco group. Though Draken is not widely known or used, there is a Dragon and the Draken group. When undertaking serious considerations about these beings, not creatures, as they are significantly spiritually mightier than man, it must be from a position of comprehension, particular concerning matters of DNA, God or gods. Our rudimentary science, as hard as it tries, does not understand DNA at all. Genetic enlightenment cannot be found in the chemical compounds viewed as signatures in nucleic acids and so on. That would be like trying to determine what motivates the weather from the rudimentary analysis of raindrop patterns. Yes, certain clues can be assumed, however, reason and truth are but alien concepts. That is because real DNA cannot be viewed in the physical sense, as it is stored in a dimension adrift of conscious reality. When man discovers, or perhaps better put, if man is allowed to discover, real DNA, the secret of our genetic history will be revealed in plain sight. I do not think the brotherhood that manipulates to lead the global flock will be around if this happens. My readers do not need them, for I can tell you DNA is manufactured in blocks defining vast catalogues of scenarios designed to attribute the infinitely detailed requirements of expressive forces required for all life and the stages beyond. Our DNA allows God to breathe, or perhaps I am giving too much away. The Draken were given control of a particular DNA block under license of battle. What? I hear a few readers exclaiming, DNA blocks, Draken, battle, the Anunnaki, battle, Draken hierarchy was discussed in an earlier post, but I shall provide summary and some additional information for those that have not read it yet. Contrary to popularized wisdom expounding the observations of Zechariah Sitchin's interpretation of information housed in a selection of Sumerian stone tablets, the Anunnaki cannot be physical. As beings, they exist in a dimensional frequency too far removed from our primitive senses. They are so far removed that even higher beings, from man, cannot experience them either. So in order to create a bridge, specific, spectral, character traits of the whole or group manifested as unique beings. The group name of these subordinate gods is Baal. Individuals are sometimes described in the Sumerian tablets. Revolting, drooling, sea creatures the likes of Sassuanu seem to fit the profile. Baal manifestations are still too far adrift of our conscious reality space to be directly experienced, but in dream state, subconscious, it is a different matter. Therefore, some of our distant ancestors made unwise choices of taking strong mind-influencing drugs, and then engaging in rituals of a violent sexual nature, to awaken apparitions of various descriptions. The ceremonies were so dangerous, some died as a result. Baal was, rightly, perceived as the closest link to God that could be experienced by man. Of course, they created the Draken to manage the Anunnaki DNA block amongst other reasons. At a later time, much more recently, they also made a humanoid being which was near enough to our frequency to be experienced by us, but far enough away, dimensionally, that they could summon Baal in their conscious reality. These are recorded in Mayan legends as Viracocha. Some variations became pharaohs in Egypt and so on. When the dragons existed in great numbers, and of numerous types, the earth was very different. Thinking about the prospect that God breathes through hierarchical DNA, the creation of the dinosaurs make absolute sense, when factoring the attributes of the Anunnaki, in essence, sea monsters very like H.P. Lovecraft's Satanic Cthulhu. Readers may be aware that my first published book in the Dimensions, Deceptions Demons, DDD, series The Beauty of Existence Decoded, Donation or Book Tango, deals with bottom-up creation. A New World Order, Book 2 of the DDD series should be released in June this year, discusses Draken evolution in detail. Background information begins with a lengthy explanation as to the objectives of top-down branched hierarchical approaches to creation, and how these, in some ways, conflict with the bottom-up philosophies. The tragic background to the destruction of Maldek prior to 78 million BC is also explored, and I draw conclusions that this event was the origin of the St. George and the Dragon myths. It took over 12 million years for the dinosaurs to die out or transform, which, in light of the dramatic changes to the topology of Earth, was a miracle in itself. Few know or realize that this planet has downsized more than once, and occupied a number of positions in the cosmos. Setting aside the complex differences as to how individual holographic universes function, I focus on explaining how forces of the holographic universe one should be interpreted in a New World Order. Newton's calculations may well work, but he did not understand gravity, or the dynamic forces holding this planet in its universal orbit. So-called black holes, for instance, may be responsible for Ozeen-Lalman's cosmic pulse, EMP, theories, I am advised were made after consideration of ancient Mayan texts. Indeed, one particular black hole, none less than the blocked, congested, Satan star, euphemistically known as the Black Sun, is a plausible culprit for intermittent extreme EMP events. Undoubtedly dragons still existed, and were possibly on the Earth, in the physical sense, long after the many transitions beyond the dinosaur age. Then, sometime between 3 and 5 million BC, a new man appeared. This version was remodeled from Tyrannosaurus DNA, in part, by the Draken. The earthbound creature closest to the Tyrannosaurus rex today is the sea shark, so cunning, reflexes, power, and patience are all associated character traits. A very, very long time ago, let us say billions of years, there was a shared source of DNA. This split into what is known as the Anunnaki and the Anunnaki. Both are based on the same concept, which is explained in A New World Order. Anunnaki genetic lines preside over Pleiadian and DNA. The Draken were able to borrow, steal or given license to use Pleiadian DNA. It may have been the result of reparation against the prior war. I discussed the Atlanteans last article. These are version 6 man, who man is version 7 and theoretically a subspecies of Sayaka. St. George, aggressor against Maldek, was version 4 man. Therefore the Draken used either version 4, 5 or 6 Pleiadian DNA to create a physical Sayaka, which looked similar to a small, raptor-like dinosaur. In the higher dimensions some of them look something like the Incredible Hulk character. Tradition has it that a giant cosmic core was centered around Earth about 2.3 million years ago, and the Draco Sayakas were forced underground. However, prior to Anunnaki governance from 385,000 BC, they regularly visited and colonized the surface for extended periods. Long after 125,000 BC, their relationship with Earth's surface would have been limited to only the wilderness of the time. That is why African shamans visit the desert regions to connect with the spirits, usually the equivalent of Sayaka extra-dimensional Chitauri. I have explained Sayaka origins in prior articles, but I will recapitulate here for consistency's sake. The Draco were formed from the Anunnaki DNA block, under management of the Draken. 2 branches were created. The earliest one, and probably made just after the demise of the dinosaurs, were the pteroids. These are now so evolved, senior gene bearers manifest in the 5th dimension. Sayakas are relative latecomers, although genetic cousins on other planets have much more distant origins. There is an old wives' tale, created by some unknown blabbermouth, that the Draco were so named because they originated from Alpha Draconis. This is not true. However, their root Anunnaki greater than Baal greater than Draken did relocate from there to settle Earth after 400 million BC. Many intelligent life forms populate the Alpha Draconis star system, including 23 different species of grey beings, 3 prominent reptilian branches and other types that are either little or not known. I would like to finish by explaining some of the legendary characteristics attributed to dragons. There are 4 basic body types, but so many different varieties. One is the traditional monster, winged and with long, snarling snout. Another is a rather odd-looking creature, being combination of bat, bird, cat and dog. The next is most strange indeed, and I have nothing like it illustrated in any esoteric source. Standing upright or man-like, it always features a prominent proboscis either in the style of a horse, or, alternatively, an occasional elephant trunk can be seen. Some varieties have a striking hairdo, or what seems like hair, or elaborate, flapping ears. Finally, students will encounter a great variety of serpentine lines. Stone or snake. The snakes, in particular, shape-shift. Some are giant, and I have witnessed one, in dream state, cleverly disguised as a railway tunnel, its mouth the entrance. The Australian Aboriginal tales of the rainbow serpent refer to a splinter of the Anunnaki light being Shesha, referenced in the Bhagavad Gita as a giant cobra possessing 1,000 heads. In addition to the snake beings, I have also witnessed other dragons, including a creature with 2 heads on extended necks, rather llama-like, displaying brilliant crimsons and oranges interspliced by pale greens. To say it was striking would be to understate. In addition, its behavior was unlike anything I have ever witnessed. Hound pulsating in a deliberate, aggressive manner as one would imagine, could have been the effect of an overdose of steroids. Its animation was as contrived as purposelessly logical. Dragons, in general, have an exceptional eye for detail and extremely poor temperament. Thus, the expression dragon-like behavior is surprisingly apt. Their traditional fire-breathing might be misconstrued, and, if not, I would say, was more likely to be illusory than real. To demonstrate, beings with the ability to switch dimensions create blinding flashes of light when changing realms. Could have those abruptly discovered dragons made quick, flashing exits to avoid capture from avid St. George's? Much of the lore built around dragons is found in the spirit realms. Magic, rites, incantations, special potions and so on. The extensive properties of dragon's blood deserve a separate post. Many of those that pursue dragon studies are deeply committed and sincere in their endeavors. They absolutely believe, through extra-dimensional intermediaries, real-time, can this be said of the nether realms, connection can be made with these powerful, mystifying entities. In light of the fact there are no physical pteroids per our perception-reasoned existence, it would be fair to assume that there are no dragons either. Polish legends of Smok-Wawelski, Waddle Dragon, and so on notwithstanding. Earlier versions of man resided in higher dimensional realms, so they could see and experience things we cannot today. Even creatures like the mythical Babylonian Saracen griffins may have simply evolved out of existence. All that remains of our forlorn quest are distant legends and questionable tales which highlight the extraordinary past shaping our ancestry. That is the beauty of the Discovery Tour. Objectives are met by the simple will to know.